Hey YouTube, Shining Force here with another tutorial. Today I thought I'd do a bit more on drum maps. In the first video I started to go into drum maps and how to build up a track, and I thought I would elaborate more on that today. You'll have to excuse me, I've got a bad cold, bad throat at the moment. It's raining a lot here in Manchester recently, and the weather is terrible and I'm suffering, but I'm good. I'm glad to be here doing this tutorial. So yeah, I mean, the first thing I wanted to talk about really was when you use reverb. Now, I'm kind of the sort of person that probably uses a little bit too much reverb, but I do like it. I've learned to tone it down a little bit recently and tame it, make it work for me. Earlier on in my productions I had too much reverb and it was coming out disgusting, I know that, but I was making my tracks better recently and the reverb's not been a problem, and it's since I've been using reverb through sends rather than on the channel buses. Now the idea with that is when a reverb comes from a send, it sounds a lot more natural and realistic, and if you were to play in a band, the sort of reverb that will be heard in that room will be the same sort of reverb that will be heard from a send in a DAW, rather than using reverb on a channel. And that's not to say that you can't use reverb on a channel track. You know, you can do, but generally for the big elements of a track, like a main melody, maybe the kick drum and the bass and a lead and the pads, you really want to use them from a send. It's a good idea to have like 2 or 3 reverb on your sends, 2 or 3 reverbs on the send channels, and maybe same with delay. Delay is also, because it's very similar to reverb, if you know about how echo works, so to speak. Yeah, delay is very similar to reverb. I'm sure it's very simple to understand that. So also delay should be used from sends as well. Delay's not quite, in my experience, not quite as essential as reverb to be used from a send channel rather than a mixer channel, but still delay should be used from sends as well, and you'll notice the difference. I'm not going to do a comparison or anything like that, but I'm just going to show you kind of like what I've done. I have a lead melody here. Just here you can see it's a lead melody, and I have some send reverb on it, so I'm just going to play that for you now. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'll just turn it down a bit. Put it onto the right sound. That helps if we turn it on. So yeah, here's the lead synth. And this has some reverb from a send effects. I'll get up the oh no, it's a delay. It has some delay, sorry, from a send effects. I'll just get up the delay now. I have it on the normal feedback setting with the cutoff at about 85% and the volume just over half. On the offset I've got that slightly below half, and the time is left as it is, and this is giving me a nice rolling sound, sort of like it's bumping up and down, giving it some shake rather than just being flat. If I was to take this off now, you can see the difference. That's with it off. And now I'm going to turn it back on again. Now. I'm going to turn it off again. Now back on. And I don't know if you can hear that, but it's just very subtle, but it just had some shake and some energy to it. When it's in the mix and it's building up, you're going to feel that it's moving in the mix rather than just static and robotic. It's very plain when it sounds like that, and it's almost so obviously computerized music, but computerized audio, but when you add this delay on it, it gives it some life and energy and sort of gives the track, you know, the drive that it needs. So I'm going to play that in the whole track now. So I'm just going to highlight the kick and the bass and the lead. So with the delay on that now, you can see it's giving it some energy, it's giving it some vibe, and if I was to take that back off again, it would go quite flat. And that is because I've used it from a send. If I would have used that delay on the channel, it wouldn't have been quite as good. It would have, in fact, it would have been more intense. It would have been more powerful, and it would have made the delay, you know, too much. I would have had to put a gate on the delay to rein it in. Whereas when I put it on the send, it's much more natural. The send saturates the sound in the desired effect. Whereas when you put it on the channel, it almost doubles the sound that you're hearing, and it sounds unnatural. You have to turn the volume down because it's adding more volume to the track, and it is as well with a send, but it's saturating the sound with the desired effect through a send rather than through the channel. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you the main part of this track now. This is the build up to the track, and I wanted to show you another element of it, which is the main melody. And here it is, it's rising in now. This has reverb and delay from a send channel. It has some life to it, some movement. And in the context of the track, let's have it. I'm using a lot of audio there. I have a quad-core AMD CPU, but it's not very powerful. I need to upgrade to an Intel one, so I'm kind of bouncing everything down to audio. This is another thing I wanted to talk about as well. Why use MIDI or audio? What is the difference, and when should you use one or another? The answer to that simply is, if you have a very powerful computer, ideally you just want to use MIDI for everything. If you have samples that you want to use in your track which are audio, that's fine, use them. But generally MIDI is easier. It's more controllable. You can edit it so much easier. Automation just goes straight onto it. You know, you can change the tempo so easily. I mean, you can with audio as well, but I mean, MIDI is just so simple. It's so easy to use. If I could use every element as MIDI, I would do, but I'm sure I would need about an octo-core PC with 5 gigahertz on each core, all maxed out, you know. With a quad-core 4 gigahertz AMD A10 PC, it's, you know, I'm not even as good as an iCore 5 yet. It's pretty average power, really. It's like a top-end iCore 3. I mean, there's some power there, you know. It doesn't run out straight away, but once you've got 5 or 6 plugins in MIDI, all layered 3 or 4 times, you're looking at 12 plugins there. I mean, only 4 gigs of RAM. I'm upgrading to 8 gigs soon. You should definitely have 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, it gets maxed out pretty easily, so that is really the difference between MIDI and audio. You should only use MIDI audio if you need to conserve power. If power's not an issue for you and you're lucky and you have an iCore 7, just go for it. Just use everything MIDI. I mean, why not? I mean, why do you want to use audio if you can use MIDI? If power's not an issue for you, use MIDI. I mean, the only other side as well, MIDI is more challenging on the screen. There's a lot more to do, you know. There's a lot more there with it. When you change it to audio, it's just one, as you can see, the audio track there is just one clip. It's 8 bars long, but with MIDI you have to keep, you know, it might be 4 bars or 2 bars, and you have to keep copying it across all the way. So really that's the difference. If I could use MIDI for everything, I really would do. It's much better. I'm going to be doing another tutorial soon about drum maps. That's it. I'm out of here.